If you are just exhausted by the digital silos, the corporate walled gardens where one company controls your data, your content, your entire social life, then this deep dive is for you. We're not just talking about like hopping from X to Mastodon. We are looking at a complete blueprint for building something that is structurally and economically just.
Yeah.
Better. A truly unified digital ecosystem.
That's absolutely the mission here. We're synthesizing a developer's full architecture for a professional, decentralized media platform. And this is the whole stack. I mean, from the communication protocols all the way up to the server setup, and even the legal framework you need for real self-governance.
Okay, so let's unpack that. This blueprint, it seems to rest on combining two really powerful tech pillars that honestly have mostly operated in their own separate worlds until now.
On one side, you have the Fediverse. That's the social layer, the connections, the conversations, all of that. And on the other, you've got this high-speed Web3 environment, in this case Solana, which brings the economic proof, the ownership, the governance.
And the sources we have, they really detail this convergence, right? Charting out every single layer.
They do. We're going from the super specific stuff like which database extensions you absolutely need for search to work, all the way up to the legal wrapper for this thing, the DAO LLC.
Before we get too deep in the weeds, let's just anchor this whole concept. The source material uses an analogy that I think is brilliant. The Fediverse is basically the email system for social media.
It's the perfect parallel, really. Think about email. Someone using a small university server can email someone on Gmail who can reply to someone on Outlook,
Right, they don't have to be on the same platform.
Exactly, because they all use open standard protocols like SMTP. The Fediverse is the same idea. All these different platforms, Mastodon, PeerTube, PixelFed, they can all talk to each other because they share one common language. ActivityPub.
So let's start right there, with that social foundation. If the Fediverse is this huge network of independent servers, what is ActivityPub actually doing to let them communicate?
It's creating what we call interoperability. ActivityPub is sort of the shared rule book for every action you take, following someone, liking a post, replying, even deleting a post. It manages how that activity gets synchronized across the whole network.
Can you give us a concrete example of
Yep.
that? Because that cross-platform magic is what really breaks the corporate silo.
Sure. Let's say you, as a user, you prefer microblogging. So your main account is on Mastodon. With ActivityPub, you don't need a separate account to watch videos. You can follow a creator whose channel is on PeerTube, the decentralized video platform, and their videos just show up in your Mastodon feed.
And you can interact with it right there.
Yep. You can like it, you can comment on it, and the protocol sends those actions back to the PeerTube server. Even though your home is Mastodon, it's one unified social stream.
That right there, that gives you a level of digital sovereignty that's just impossible on a traditional platform. You're not locked in.
Exactly. That user autonomy is the core benefit. Since the network is just a bunch of independent servers or instances, if you get unhappy with yours, maybe you don't like the moderation.
Or the community changes.
Right, you're not stuck. ActivityPub lets you migrate your whole profile, followers and all, to a new instance. You get to keep your social graph, which is your most valuable asset online.
And that choice seems to lead to these really specialized, high-quality communities.
It does. You see these popular platforms, Mastodon for microblogging, PeerTube for video, PixelFed for images, and Lemmy for Reddit-style forums. And people flock to servers based on interest. So you get these hyper-focused communities like hatchyderm.io for tech pros or fostodon.org for open source fans. It's community-led, not corporate-led.
Okay, that specialization sounds great, but it brings up a huge technical challenge. If you're trying to build one unified platform with all these different apps, how do you make sure the back end, the plumbing, can actually handle all that complex data?
That's a critical question. And here we have to zoom in from the protocol to the actual server architecture. The foundation for almost all these services, Mastodon, PeerTube, Lemmy, is PostgreSQL.
PostgreSQL is the database.
Right. PixelFed uses something a little different, like MariaDB. But for this unified blueprint, PostgreSQL is really the core engine.
I know PostgreSQL is powerful, but when you're dealing with a global network with all these different languages, search can get really fragile really fast. What does the blueprint say about keeping that stable?
You have to set the stage right from the get-go. First, the database has to use UTF-8 encoding. That's a must for handling global character sets. If you skip that, you can't properly support posts in, say, Japanese or Greek.
And there's a more subtle requirement too, right, with the extensions.
Yes, and this is one of those tiny details that can make or break the user experience. You have to enable two specific extensions. The first one is PGEAGM. It provides functions for text similarity. It's absolutely essential for any kind of fuzzy search. Without it, your search results are just brittle and inaccurate.
And the second one is for that global language problem.
Exactly. It's called unaccent. It tells the search engine to ignore things like accents, tildes, louts. So if someone posts in French and another user searches without the exact accented character, they can still find it. Without unaccent, the platform is functionally broken on a global scale.
Okay, so database is sorted, now deployment. We're trying to run Mastodon, PeerTube, Lemmy. That's a whole mess of different dependencies. How do you run all that on one server without it turning into a complete nightmare?
The best practice here, according to the blueprint, is total isolation using Incus containers. Think of Incus as like a lightweight virtual machine. It keeps all those dependencies, Node.js, Redis, FFmpeg, completely separate from the main operating system and, more importantly, separate from each other.
So no version conflicts.
None. It's the only sane way to manage it. But beyond that, Incus gives you this incredible safety net for when you're doing admin work.
What do you mean?
Well, it lets you take an instant snapshot of the entire environment, everything, before you do something risky, like a big software upgrade. If that upgrade fails, if anything goes wrong, you don't have to restore from a backup. You just do an immediate one-click rollback to the last stable state. It's priceless.
And what about resources? We mentioned PeerTube and video transcoding, which is famously intense on hardware.
Incus is crucial for that. Transcoding video is super CPU and memory intensive. If it runs out of RAM, the app crashes and it could take the whole server down with it. So with Incus, you can set strict CPU and RAM limits for each container. The blueprint says PeerTube needs at least 4 gigs of RAM just to be safe, and Incus guarantees it gets it.
Okay, that stability gives us the social layer. Now I'll get to the really interesting part, layering on the economic spine. This is where we bridge ActivityPub, our social proof, with a blockchain like Solana, the economic proof. But isn't that incredibly complex? Why complicate a working social stack with a financial layer?
That's the big question. And the answer really comes down to the speed and cost of a chain like Solana. Older blockchains would be way too slow and expensive for this. But Solana has the throughput for tons of microtransactions and instant identity checks. You take on the complexity because you gain this whole new dimension of verifiability and ownership.
So ActivityPub is for the temporary stuff, the posts and likes, but Solana handles the permanent record.
Exactly. ActivityPub is for the social graph. Solana provides the economic proof. It handles transactions, asset ownership, and governance records that can't be changed. They come together to make this hybrid stack where social actions can be tied directly to real economic value.
Let's get into some practical uses for that. What does that actually let you do?
Well, the foundational use case is a universal webit. Your Solana wallet address is cryptographic. It proves that you control that identity no matter what server you're on. So that wallet address becomes your unified ID across all the social platforms and the financial apps in the ecosystem.
So your wallet isn't just for your money. It's your passport, your access key.
Precisely. And that enables things like token-gated access, which is huge for governance. Let's say a DAO runs the project. The system can check the Solana chain in real time to see if you hold a governance token. If you do, boom, you instantly get admin permissions on the platform or access to a private Lemmy forum.
And what about for creators?
Instant monetization. A creator posts a video using ActivityPub for all the social sharing. But if they want to sell that video as an NFT, the record of ownership, the transaction, all of that is stored securely on Solana. They're using the Fediverse for distribution and the blockchain for value.
So how does that technically work? You don't install Solana on your server.
Right. You communicate with it through libraries, you use Solana SDKs, software development kits, or you connect to something called an RPC node, which is like a gateway to the Solana network. The integration happens inside the application code, letting the social server read token balances and verify ownership without ever touching the crypto itself.
And we should probably mention Solana isn't the only game in town for this.
No, absolutely not. The sources also point to other robust alternatives, especially if you're building with Rust and WebAssembly. You've got Polkadot, which uses a language called Ink, and Cosmos, which uses CosmWasm and the IBC protocol. The core principle is the same. Merge social proof with economic proof.
Okay, so we've got the social engine and the economic spine connected. The next huge problem is the user experience. If people have to jump between 5 different interfaces for Mastodon, PeerTube, Lemmy, it kind of defeats the whole purpose of unifying things.
It totally does. And this is where the concept of a headless architecture is non-negotiable. The solution is to basically turn off the native web interfaces for all the core apps. You run them headless and put them all behind one custom-built front end.
And step one for that has to be a single login. Nobody's going to tolerate 5 different logins.
Of course, you need a single sign-on system, or SSO. You integrate an OpenID Connect provider, something like Keycloak or Authelia. That layer manages your universal identity. You log in once to the main portal, and the OIDC provider handles linking your account across all the separate headless backends.
It's like that analogy of the universal keycard for a resort. The resort has a pool, a restaurant, a gym, all separate buildings, but your one keycard gets you into all of them.
That's a perfect way to put it. OpenID Connect is that keycard. It authenticates you once and then gives out secure tokens to all the other services to prove who you are. And in this system, it's also checking that keycard against your Solana wallet to verify your special permissions based on the tokens you own.
So what's powering the gateway itself? Pulling data from 4 different APIs has to be incredibly fast.
Performance is everything there. The blueprint recommends building that gateway with a high-performance language, specifically Rust, with the Axum framework, often compiled down to WebAssembly or WASM. Rust is just incredibly fast and secure. So Axum acts as this high-speed proxy, grabbing video data from PeerTube, threads from Lemmy, your feed from Mastodon, and stitching it all together into the single page the user actually sees.
Walk me through that. Let's say it's a professional video site built on this stack. How does that mapping work?
Okay, so think of it as video as a service. You load a video page. The Rust gateway is talking to a headless PeerTube instance just for the video stream itself. But the comment section below that video, that's actually being pulled from a headless Lemmy instance. And the main activity feed, showing who liked the video and what else is new, that's being managed by a headless Mastodon. The user has no idea they're on one site, but interacting with 3 different specialized backends.
Okay, now let's talk scale. We're building a global platform. How do you keep it fast and resilient if your servers are in different data centers all over the world?
Now we're getting into serious distributed computing. The next layer you add is a real-time communications backbone. In this case, NATS. NATS acts as a lattice, or a communication grid, linking all these services no matter where they are. It handles real-time events, like instantly telling the gateway in Europe that a video just finished transcoding in an Asian data center.
And what's WASM Cloud?
That's the orchestration layer that sits on top of NATS. WASM Cloud manages where those Rust and WASM components are running. So that Axum API gateway we talked about, it can dynamically float between data centers based on traffic. This gives you incredible resilience and speed.
Last piece of the puzzle, and it's a big one, legal sovereignty. If this whole thing is decentralized and governed by tokens, how does it get real-world legal protection?
It needs a legal wrapper. That's the DAO LLC. And this is not an optional extra. It's essential for bridging the decentralized tech world with our centralized legal world. It gives you the limited liability of a normal company, but it legally recognizes the blockchain token votes as the official management structure.
And where can you even do that legally?
As of 2026, the gold standard is Wyoming. They were the pioneers. But the sources also point to Utah and Tennessee as states that have solid legal statutes for this now.
So the DAO LLC is the legal wrapper, which is controlled by the governance tokens on Solana, the economic layer. And those tokens control the admin permissions on the gateway, the social layer. It all connects.
It's a fully closed loop. The DAO tokens control the legal entity, and the legal entity's rules are enforced by the technical stack. Social, economic, and legal proofs are all just completely intertwined.
So this deep dive, we've really gone from a loose collection of social sites, the Fediverse, to a hyper-integrated, economically sound, and legally protected global media platform. It's a complete system, from the database all the way to the DAO LLC, designed to fight that corporate silo model.
Yeah, and the blueprint really shows us that the future isn't just about leaving old platforms. It's about structurally merging social proof, that's ActivityPub, with economic proof from something like Solana, all of it governed by the users themselves. The true value is in that complete self-sovereign architecture.
So here's something to think about. If a single Solana wallet address can be your universal identity across every social, financial, and governance platform in this new ecosystem, how does that fundamentally change your relationship with your own personal data, with digital ownership, and with the very idea of what it means to be a citizen in the digital world?